Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dollemore Daily. We're the Banks sisters, and we are still filling in for Jesse as he's settling into DC. I'm Keisha.
I'm Courtney, and you might have heard it, and it's true. All charges have been dropped against Andrew Cuomo.
Can't believe it.
I know our mom is excited. I'm sure your mom is excited. We do have a lot of reservations about this, though. We got a lot of issues. So let's just hop right into that, okay? Mm-hmm. So to lay down the groundwork, first of all, the sexual groping charges against Andrew Cuomo have been dropped because basically they would have to prove in a court of law to a jury of your peers that the groping took place. And I think if you're a woman, it's pretty difficult to
actually prove something like that. Unless you have a video, unless you have trust me, even if you have a video, it's hard. So.
Right. And so it doesn't mean that the victim is not credible, but it seems that the prosecutors, they don't want to pursue that because they don't know that that's going to be a win. But we think the bigger news is that the Biden Department of Justice is actually not going to pursue a probe into looking into the COVID deaths, those that were covered up by Andrew Cuomo's office, and also looking into the clause that he kind of wrote in where basically nursing homes get off with, no liability if there's negligence. And not only are they not looking at it for the state of New York, but they're not looking at it for Michigan or Pennsylvania as well. Now,
it turns out that, first of all, you might have, as I did, completely forgot about him lying about the COVID deaths and then writing a book about how well he handled the COVID situation and then being touted as the COVID guru of some sort of all the governors and should be leading all the force and explaining to them all what to do.
There's a lot there. So
that did happen.
Yes.
That all of that did happen. And then the icing on the cake of that is also rarely spoken about is that Trump then later used that verbiage for other liability clauses for, you were saying, like meatpacking companies and things like that.
Well, let's go back and refresh everybody's memory just about exactly what happened. So Cuomo, he basically forced and mandated for nursing homes to let back in patients that were COVID positive rather than having them go to somewhere else, therefore infecting more people in the facility, which would be one issue. But the other issue on top of that, and especially for families, is that he also wrote into the language that the nursing home would have no liability for the negligence, meaning that CEOs could choose to cut corners. They could choose to, not check people here or not follow social distancing, not give people proper PPP.
Yeah. And families have absolutely no recourse. It's a sick, twisted person has to come up with an idea like this.
Yeah. It's really awful it doesn't matter if it's red or blue. Anybody who would basically look at a COVID situation, a pandemic that is worldwide, and think, how can I make this easier for the corporations? That's not great. And on top of that, which I think is so sinister, there's that other layer that we forget about from that time, which is the Cuomo brother comedy hour.
Cuomo bromos!
They were having a ball.
Okay, and that certainly just brings to light, how long ago was Chris Cuomo fired? A couple months ago, maybe? Or
maybe under a month.
Suspension or whatever it was. But it's only just now kind of coming to light that, maybe it wasn't a good idea to have you bring your brother onto the show and talk about things when the things were under investigation.
Could be a conflict of interest. I don't know.
Right, exactly. So, I'm glad that CNN, made that realization and realized that they needed to do something about it.
At that point. But let's talk about the damage. The damage had been done. Because basically the Cuomo brother comedy hour, what you had an assembly member, Ron Kim. He was desperately trying to tell the media and anyone who would listen about the fact that Cuomo's office was, basically mandating that they were going to lie about the numbers, instructing them to lie about the numbers. And then on the flip side, going onto a public forum like CNN, being basically just, having a PR bonanza where he's being shown in this amazing light, being seen as very presidential. And on top of that, he got a book deal where then he's talking about basically his COVID wins and the great strategies that he's practiced. And my issue with that is we're not operating from honesty. We're not operating from reality. And that should bother you, especially if you're a Democrat. I mean, this is that's what I don't understand. Right. Why doesn't that piss you off?
Like, how would you want to be associated with a person like this? I would want to distance myself the most possible.
It's Trump behavior. Right. What are we talking about? It's Trump behavior. So do you think that Trump behavior is an existential threat to democracy? Because I would say yes. And that would include lying about COVID numbers. We're talking about 9,000 lives pushed back into nursing homes. There was a woman in the nursing home who was there for a knee surgery recovery. Mm-hmm. And she caught COVID and she died. She wasn't old.
She just was in there for some rehab. I mean,
that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
And the fact that the media is pushing so much more the sexual assault portion of Andrew Cuomo rather than really drilling down and focusing on what he actually did with the COVID-19 deaths is, I mean, that should say something to you. I mean, you have to start to wonder, why is it that they aren't focusing on these types of things?
It should say something to all of us, because what are we clicking on? What do we want to...
Good point.
What is it that you click on, you know?
Why are you feeding that beast? Yeah,
exactly.
You know? Like, let's feed the beast of truth, I think, because otherwise we're never going to be able to figure out, I mean, all politicians are corrupt, but who the more corrupt ones are, I suppose. I mean,
they're all corrupt. And I think that the most disappointing part of this is that there is factual evidence, there is admission of this. And I do think, you know, as an independent looking at this situation with the Democrats, this is a great time to actually stand up and hold somebody accountable, right, especially because Trump took this language on and used it to only, make it worse for the job market, make it worse for the working class. And people do not forget that, because almost 900,000 people have died. Those are people in nursing homes, and those are people who are working. So both sides of this equation have been affected just by what Andrew Cuomo has done. And you cannot but Trump whataboutism. We can't shirk the responsibilities. No. I think, if Democrats want to step up as leaders, if they want to have the public really start trusting in them, then you've got to call that stuff out, because this is how you get a Trump. This is how you get a Trump, by saying, absolutely, this side did it, but it's not that bad. I mean, because he's not this guy. No, that's absolutely ridiculous. Are we going to stand by justice? Are we going to stand up for people and say, you can't lie? I think DeSantis in Florida also lied. Let's get all of them. That's what I'm saying.
Why not get them all? Why does it have to be an either or all the time? It has to be one side versus the other. It's absolutely not doing us any good. And we could really, we could really be getting them all. It seems so simple. It seems very obvious. All of the information seems to be out there. Right. And yet nothing seems to be getting done. I mean, that's all I
just think... I hope that people don't look at this and say, my team won, a win for me, I'm a Democrat.
Right, by Cuomo getting off that,
me. Yeah, and then there's no further investigation into that, because I think a lot is lost, and a lot's lost for those families. And from what I've seen, it looks like Republicans, who care about no one, are basically trying to weaponize this against the Democrats to say that they also don't care about anyone. And so I think that that's why you do need to draw the line. That's why you do need to say, no, this behavior is unacceptable. This is actually not what we stand for. This actually aligns more with Trump. Screw Cuomo. He's a rich kid. He's be already fine.
Out. He'll land on his
feet.
He
will be fine, dude. They're going to make him an ambassador to somewhere, give him some cushy job. Same with Chris. They will be fine. But if the Democrats you guys still want to play, you guys still want to win, you still want to try to beat the Republicans, I would say then you've got to draw a line in the sand and say, this is behavior that we don't align with. Otherwise, to me, it looks very Trump. So, and also as an independent, I'm looking for an adult who's ready to lead. And to me, that means you can look at yourself and say, what we did was wrong. And that, that's important.
You have to, everyone needs to be held accountable. There cannot be this feeling, because people are too smart for that now. People pay too much attention to politics. People have way too much information available to them. I mean, you can look up a C-SPAN clip from God knows when. You know what I'm saying? Like, people will do that, and they will take the time to do their own research.
And should do that.
Exactly. And should
Please do that.
And I mean, this is a perfect time where Democrats could really take the reins and say, like, oh, you're not going to catch me slipping up, okay? You know? Just a thought. I don't know.
Just a thought from two independents. Listen, you guys let us know what you think. I have been Courtney. You can follow me at Courtney Banks on Twitter, talking my crap in the tweets. And you can also follow me on Instagram at the Courtney Banks.
I have been Keisha. You can follow me on Twitter at one of these Keishas, and the same on Instagram. I'm not so much on Twitter, but you can also check us out at our YouTube channel, which is called Banks Sisters. Not the one with the gospel singers. It's a different one. You'll see the difference.
The two light skins. That's us.
The two childless women. That is us.
Real sisters. We hope you guys have enjoyed this. Let us know what you're thinking in the comments. Once again, shout out to Jesse. Good luck in DC getting settled, and we will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.